Thank you, Nasser. I'm Carlos Alvarez, and I'm also one of the co-chairs. You know, the war doesn't only affect all of us here, it affects everyone across the nation, and of course, all the Iraqis and people of the Middle East. But in the U.S., there are sectors that are more exploited and oppressed, and we know that one of those is women's rights. Women's rights are being attacked every day. So now, to defend women's rights is a women's rights activist, organizer, coordinator, and heads of her own show on KPFK. Please welcome Margaret Prescott with Global Women's Strike.
Hey, I hear all the women out there. Let me hear you. No war. Invest in caring, not killing. You know, if one listens to the mainstream media, you would think the anti-war movement is over. Is it over, people? You know, today marking the 5th anniversary of the invasion of Iraq, at the same time that vets of both wars and occupations in Afghanistan and Iraq are speaking out in the Winter Soldier hearings. Hearings that, like anti-war actions, are ignored by the mainstream media, but not by Pacifica, not by KPFK. We're carrying it live. Let me hear all the supporters for KPFK out there. You know, the mainstream media that seems determined to do what they can to ensure that the war does not remain a key issue in the presidential election and that opposition to war is hidden. But you know what? A Nobel Prize winning economist has estimated that the cost of war and occupation in Iraq is $3 million. But over in my neighborhood, there's a house up for foreclosure just down the block. Just yesterday, the 5th largest bank in the United States was bailed out, given money to stay afloat, and that was not the first one. It was a bank that was making money by pimping off the poor, and it is not the poor that are bailed out by the banks. It is you and I that are forced to pay to ensure that Wall Street stays afloat. We have to pay to ensure our own exploitation of people around the world. So money that's going up in smoke each and every day in Iraq and Afghanistan, money that is going to destabilize the Bolivarian revolution in Venezuela, money that is propping up the U.S.-backed UN occupation of Haiti, is money not going to help those with trouble in housing, not for schools, not for payment for caregivers. It is money not going to decrease the killing workload of mothers and for women doing the double day, for single mothers on welfare. It is money not going for health care, not for care for the elderly. It is money not going to end Jim Crow type racism that we see not only in New Orleans, in Jeddah, Louisiana, but in places like Benton Harbor, Michigan, which has a 94% black population, and where the multinational Whirlpool has its headquarters. In the Benton Harbor, the black grassroots leader, Reverend Pinckney, is in prison standing up against racism and the land grab by the rich. And it is money not going to flood victims in New Orleans, our money that's being wasted in war and weapons. It is where people are still living in trailers. It's money not going to immigrant communities whose contributions to the economy in California and the nation remain hidden, and who instead are hounded and their children divided from them by these ICE raids. It is money not going to veterans and their families, or for cleaning up the environment, including in Iraq and other places in the Middle East, now contaminated by depleted uranium. It is money not going to ensure that people are cared for. But finally, women are paying the highest price for war and occupation. But as grassroots women, our resistance is strong. We have no choice. We are not fooled by having a woman who may be presidential candidate here in the United States. As grassroots women, we have had to survive the careerism of feminism, who have put their self against their sisters with less power, including those back home taking care of their children and cleaning their houses, being paid next to nothing so that they could have that career. find our way across the divides of nation, race, economic background, age, and sexual preference. We have developed our demands across national boundaries, and we are on the front lines, sisters. We're on the front lines in Oaxaca, Mexico, on the border of Venezuela and Colombia, in the rural areas of Bolivia. We're on the front lines in Nigeria against Shell. We're on the front lines in Alaska against ExxonMobil, and we're on the front lines in Palestine against the brutal occupation of the Israeli government. But you know what? We have to keep hold of our hearts. We have to hold on to our compassion and refuse the author of the state to focus only on ourselves and our loved ones and neglect those who have less than us, those whose work makes our lifestyle possible. It is by refusing to be divided one from the other, to globalizing our struggles and demands and our accountability to each other, by sharing our victories, that we have a chance to win and end this war. But finally, don't be overwhelmed by the task of hand. Every act we do, no matter how small, whether it is supporting Answer or all the groups that have tables out there, as simple as signing a petition, sharing it with your friends, pasting a bumper sticker on your car, sharing an informative video with your friends and neighbors, turning on people you know to KPFK. Every act counts. Together we can stop this war. Invest in caring, not killing. Let me hear you. Invest in caring, not killing. Invest in caring, not killing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And speaking of KPFK, which of course is the media sponsor for today's event, let's remember that on March 20th, that's this Thursday, friends, starting at 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. at the Crash Manson is the Spring Equinox Benefit Concert for KPFK. The list of groups is endless. You'd have to pay hundreds of dollars to hear all of these wonderful groups that are going to be performing this Thursday night from 9 to 1 a.m. at the Crash Manson. So you give a call to KPFK. The ticket prices are really reasonable. You're going to get quite a bargain, and it benefits KPFK. So be at the Crash Mansion. I'll see you there this Thursday night. Thank you. Carlos.